Right. Hello, world. Welcome to
All
another
right.
episode on the Fourth Heritage Mindset channel. Today, I'm continuing my book review series by hosting my second guest, Mr. James Opiyo here. We shall be discussing his take on my summary paper, the EDISAC Framework. For those who missed last week's first episode, in which I hosted Timothy Mununuzi and his review of my third book, Beyond the Fourth Heritage, I will leave a link to that video in the description box below. Without wasting much time, let's get started. Mr. James Opiyo, most welcome to the Fourth Heritage Mindset. How are you?
I'm great, Emmanuel. Thank you for the opportunity. It's indeed an honor.
Oh, that's very
Yep.
nice of you. That's very nice of you. So, just to
Great.
kick off this discussion, can you, in a brief statement, one or two lines, tell us who you are, what you do, and maybe how you got to reading the paper?
Okay. Who am I?
Mm.
I would have given you a different answer 1 year ago. But right now, I would say I am the individuation of super consciousness who happens to be African. I think that's how I describe myself.
Okay.
I also happen to be called James Barrier Opiyo. Okay, what do I do? Presently, I am an energy professional. So I offer consultancy services predominantly in the oil and gas sector, but I am increasingly transitioning into renewable energies. So I offer those services within Uganda at the moment. So in a nutshell, I think that's...
After reading that paper, for the benefit of our viewers, how would you summarize the paper, the EDISAC, when you read it? What is it?
First of all, I think the EDISAC framework, that summary paper, came to me at just about the right time in my life for various reasons. After undertaking my studies in Uganda up to the undergrad level, just like you, Emmanuel, I got to travel to the Far East, to China, to be specific, and basically had my postgrad training in China. And when I got to China, I got a rude awakening. I was shocked at the fact that the world is, or that part of the world is very different from the part of the world that I had been exposed to from my childhood. Most of us grew up with the heritage that you refer to as the European colonial heritage. And so basically our views on the world were basically shaped by Hollywood and everything we saw from the West. So traveling to China to study and, to live and study in China was quite an eye-opener. It got me questioning, who I am and why I see the world the way I see it. And then, fast forward to 3 years after my setting foot in China, I got to travel to the UK, to the United Kingdom, and I got to work for a company that you eventually worked with as well. And so now I was being exposed firsthand to life in the West. Okay, so born and raised in Africa, lived for a while in the East, and then moved over to the West. And when you go through such experiences, you begin to question who you are primarily. And so I started questioning who I was and why I see the world the way I see it, why I believe things that I believe. And I would say that over the past 1.5 years, that search has actually even grown deeper into my spirituality. And so it was interesting that, we got to chat barely a month ago, and I discovered that you had actually been on this journey, a soul search, if you will, for almost 20 years. And so you were able to give me the EDISAC Framework summary And, after reading it, for those who have not yet read the EDISAC Summary, it basically, in a nutshell, describes why we see or witness what you refer to as arrested development in the African part of the world. Okay. It basically describes the problem, which you suggest is an error that was passed on to us by our African tribal ancestors. And then you go on to propose a solution in the framework, a solution, to get us away from where we find ourselves, stuck with the triple heritage. We're talking about the tribal, the foreign religion, and the colonial heritage, to what you refer to as the fourth heritage man, a man who is liberated, who is individuated, who is able to courageously embark on a journey, seeking knowledge, wisdom from, wherever, to be able to incorporate back home, to advance us to that place where, we are beyond just our mere tribes as the dominant heritage, to what you refer to as a civilizational existence. So in a nutshell, that is really what I believe EDISAC is.
Yeah.
I found it to be quite comprehensive.
Let's go deeper into what the paper has, or the framework, as I called it. After reading, what do you think, how has it impacted in you something within your African mindset? Because I wrote this paper, the audience is you and me, we, the educated Africans. And I'm trying to say we need to change our mindset. What point, how has it impacted on your mindset journey?
So I was saying that your paper provided a missing link, and I'll explain why. Previously, I viewed myself, and this is what you refer to as the dominant identity. I viewed myself as this Luo young man.
You mean tribal? You mean tribal?
I viewed myself through the tribal lens. Okay. If someone asked me about my heritage or my identity, the tribal lens sort of, came up. Okay. It seemed to, I will not say it was dominant, but it was one of the three dominant sort of reference points that I would latch onto. My only problem with that tribal lens was, okay, I told myself, yes, James, you are, let's say
a proud Luo,
Luo young man, yes. But guess what? The foreigners came. You had your proud traditions, and proud Luo traditions, but you were no match for the invaders. So was there some kind of deficiency in your heritage? I would hear, I'll be honest with you, I would hear Pan-Africanists, extol the virtues of being African. But lingering in my mind was the question of, okay, if you had such a great tradition, how come foreigners came and were able to overrun you? How come they introduced, religions that you have now fully embraced, and you now view your own, African traditional sort of practices as archaic, as backward? And so
even the language, even the language.
There you go. There you go. And so I felt there was a bit of hypocrisy. I think what you refer to as that cognitive dissonance. Yes, I felt like there was something not adding up. But when you introduced, when you basically shone light to the fact that our tribal heritage was an aberration, for example, that the tribes that we now, strongly identify ourselves with were actually results of a breakdown of a wider, much more prosperous, much more complex, much more, should I say, even technologically advanced civilization in the Nile Valley. When I was able to now make that connection between who I am and the glorious traditions of our ancient ancestors in the Nile Valley, who basically gave birth to civilization as we know it now, including the civilization in the Arab world or in the West. that gave me a sense of pride that I didn't have before as an African. I must confess. And even if your book did nothing else to me, but gave me that sense of sort of anchorage to that civilization, that powerful civilization, for me, that does wonders. And if I was to pass on any legacy to my children, is to say, hey, you are proud descendants of the great civilization of the Nile Valley, and that would be great. Okay, but beyond that, now that we know that we are descendants of great people of the Nile civilization who basically provided the basis for the other civilizations, we can now come to the table, all right, as modern Africans, as people who actually contributed to the inventions of the Greeks, for example. I was told Pythagoras studied in Egypt for some time. So when you are doing mathematics, it's no longer something that you're disconnected from. It's not purely an invention of the West, but we had a contribution to make. So for me, it gives me a great sense of pride, honestly. And so I was glad that your framework was able to bring that to light.
Good. And just to clarify for those viewers who might have a misunderstanding, what James is saying about the aberration of the tribal heritage or whatever, what I meant, and he was just speaking just for a minute, but to explain it, what I meant is the fact that we modern Africans now belong to these small things we call tribes. James Luo tribe, I'm a Bantu tribe. And if you go back, they are just, let's give it at best 1,000-year-old, at best.
1,000 years.
My tribe is just a couple hundred years. Let's say at best 1,000 years. We're in 2021. So that is about 1,000 years ago. Even if your tribe was there 1,000 years ago, what was there before that? And if you investigate, most of us in Central, Southern, East Africa, we were not there more than 1,000 years ago. We were small pockets. Small pockets far away. Some in Western Africa, and eventually in the southern, the southern Nile Valley. If you go 3,000 years ago, most of us were not in Kenya, Uganda, whatever. And that is what I'm trying to say. You can stick with your present tribes, but they are young entities, young, weak. No wonder they quickly gave way to very few Europeans. I mean, when the Europeans came, they were not more than us. There were just few of them. But so that is what I critique in terms of the tribal heritage. However proud you are, the fact is there was something before. We were people who were Africans for thousands, tens of thousands of years before these tribes. And mentally, many people don't get that. Many people don't get that. And that's what I was trying to say. So before people come out, guns blazing, saying I'm against tribe or whatever, I'm just trying to say these tribes are very young social organizations. But before those, there were some strong African social organizations that we can identify with. And if we do identify with those, then we can compete with the Europeans or the Chinese. Without that, there is no way. There's no way we are competing. Just see how the Chinese or the Europeans come, even South Africa or say even Nigeria, all these, the foreigners easily dominate. They dominate language-wise, they dominate socially, religious-wise. I heard there's now a Chinese Confucius movement all over Africa, institutes, hundreds of institutes. And that's not bad, but all I'm just saying is that it's a result of the weakness within what we call our tribal identities, which lead to psychologies that end up not being competitive when it comes to these foreigners who come and take advantage and dominate us economically, spiritually, and every other way. So anyway, that is a little clarification. So people realize, yeah, we have tribes, and I don't think you are saying anything against your tribe. You're just trying to
No.
say history happened, and this is how you how history has judged us. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Maybe you've
Thanks for the
already.
clarification. So I was saying, beyond that anchorage, that connection, that I have now to the ancient Nile Valley civilization. Beyond that, there is the idea that you propose. You propose, what you propose as the way forward, what you have referred to as individuation. I find it as starkly different from what other scholars have proposed before, because other scholars have proposed solutions that basically are top down. They address the group coming down to the individual. You choose to start with the individual,
Exactly.
so that you can organically, develop a critical mass of Africans, elite Africans, hopefully, who can be able to articulate what the new African should be, or what the fourth heritage African should be. So I found that to be a novel contribution of your paper.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot for that. That is something that I've not seen before. And the beautiful thing is, for me, it is very much in line with the spiritual path that I have been on. In fact, I think that started the discussion, right? The fact that you're an individuation of a superconscious. And so when I come to EDISAC and I see individuation, of course, I was able to take note of that.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good point. And I think I mentioned it straight in the introduction, that is a different take on how writing, how to get out of this quagmire we are in as Africans. Everyone wants to start with a collective. Everyone wants to start with this romantic, we are a people, something, everyone does that. But for me, I'm doing different. I'm saying you and me are individuals, and we need to first work on that. And I've been working on my individual for 20 years. For more than 20 years, since I left Uganda to go to the US. It's just a battle within your mind. And after 20 years of finding my bearing, that is all I can say. I've found my bearing. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I'm everything. And I'm just trying to say, I think if other Africans can do the same, and then we become individuated, strong people, then the collective will take care of itself over generations. You and me will not be there to see the fruit. But the fact is that you and your kids is what you have to do. And that's what I'm doing. Me and my family and the friends I can influence, whether in Africa or out. The individual, you're still, can you be strong? Can you be liberated? Can you be beyond the limiting psychologies that we grow up with?
I mean, if you're talking about the mindset, your 6 killer mindsets are really on point. And the pre-modern mind, I found those to be quite insightful. Discourse on the 6 killer mindsets that basically start with the elite dilemma. The fact that the more advanced and educated we, the elite, African elite, become, and the more disconnected we are from our traditional African roots. But
that's common sense.
Thankfully, EDISAC. But thankfully, EDISAC sort of proposes a way of removing that disconnect.
No, seriously, we have so many smart people. You and me, we know, we went to good schools, we met smart Africans or whatever. But the more advanced we get, we become Europeans or something else. And it's not bad. It's just that when we do that, there's something about African heritage that is left exposed, that is left weak. The Chinese you're talking about, or the Japanese or the Europeans, they don't have cognitive dissonance about their culture and modernity. They don't. But for us, we do.
It's a pity.
It's a pity, but the thing is, we have to put our brains to solving this.
Yes.
And one of the criticism I get is People think we can solve the problem in a year or two. No, this is a generational thing.
Generational
But
issue. Yeah.
a generational thing. But it starts with you and the children you're
Yes.
having, how you educate them. Actually, that brings me to the last question, which is you have children, and of course they're going through education. How do you think the ideas from EDISAC will influence how you educate your child?
Yeah. No. You've reminded me of
Mm.
a quotation from one of the heritages that we have received, the
Mhm.
Christian heritage, when Joshua said, "As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord."
Mhm.
Indeed, the household is a very important unit. If you want to transform a society, the home or the family is really where you start.
Mhm.
So for me, the first practical step is basically sharing these what would appear to be far-fetched ideas with my wife.
Mhm.
That is normally the starting point. And
Mhm.
if I can get her to buy into it, then we
Mhm.
can collectively, be conscious about raising up our daughter,
Mhm.
who is now 3.5 years old, raising
Mhm.
her up with that consciousness that
Mhm.
she comes from
Mm.
Africa,
Mm.
the cradle of humanity.
Mm.
Yeah, and helping, equipping her with that sense of should I say, anchorage
Mhm.
to something that is much greater than what we see at this point in time.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
Helping her to get to that point where she realizes she is an individual who has personal agency. That's something that you have talked about.
Yeah.
Personal agency is important. That we can be able to give her advice based on the way we view the world, but ultimately she should be able to make up her mind
Yeah.
on on the best way to live her life based on what she believes are her aspirations. So providing that history, that sense of belonging. So I think it is what EDISAC has equipped
Mm.
me with. And if together as a
Mm.
family we can be able to bring her up with that mindset, I think that will be great.
Perfect. Yep. No, and to help with that journey is uh, one of my inspiration for writing these things is to have a community of Africans. You, me, all these people have read these books.
Yeah.
As we are bringing up our children, these children will grow within that community. When they come
Yep.
to visit Uncle James, or they
Yeah.
are not going to go and spending all the time watching MTV and other other things that we have to be intentional in how we bring them up within a community. They have a family, but also the other Africans or the other people
Yeah.
that what mindsets will they be imparting on the young ones? And as the EDSAC paper tries to do, those mindsets will be beyond your tribe and my tribe, your religion and my religion.
In a very interesting way, it's only when you are able to embrace your Africanness, that authentic Africanness, that you're basically qualified to now get onto the global stage and embrace globalism. It's a very strange paradox, also.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, because at the end, every every group of people have roots, and when we say roots, is culture roots and land roots. And for us, for better or worse, our roots is African, culturally and land-wise. And if you are to find the good within that, which is plenty, but
Plenty.
also be courageous to discard the negatives, which is
Yes.
embedded, which we have. We have a lot of
Yeah.
negativity and weak spots in our
Yeah.
heritages, but we need to
Yeah.
discard those. And then once you keep on with the strong and more of us get on the same page, which I'm calling a civilizational page, like you and me, we are agreeing because of what you have read about me or what I've written in a modern way. And so there's a way our modern civilization existence of Africans can be fruitful and progressive and successful. James, thank you so much for this discussion. I really appreciated our exchange of ideas. I hope some Africans out there, whether in Uganda or in other parts of the continent or out here in the West, get to listen to this discussion and maybe get to sacrifice the 2-3 hours needed to read this paper and join the conversation.
True.
Thank you for that discussion. One last word that you want to tell my viewers before we end?
No, I just remembered your parable, the skinny father parable. And I think that this is another very important contribution that you make. The fact that we shouldn't be blaming the outsiders for our own weaknesses. The outsiders basically took advantage of our own weaknesses. And so we need to be able to come up with homegrown solutions that buttress us from the next possible wave of invasion. So thank you so much, Emmanuel, for conceiving those 3 books and for that amazing summary. Thanks a lot.
Welcome. You're welcome. For the viewers who haven't read the paper, The Skinny Father Parable is just maybe a paragraph and a half long. If you go to my website and download the EDISAC framework for free, you can read that parable in 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes. All right, with that, we've come to an end. Thank you so much, Mr. James Opiyo. I hope you're keeping safe in this COVID environment. Keeping safe. And for the viewers out there, if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. And that way, every weekend, I bring a new video, you'll be notified. Thank you very much. Bye.